Alright, let's do some more low-level avatar tips and advice here. So I have captured... The problem is I'm going to have to win a sea battle eventually in order to move my way over to Honshu, but that's okay. I'll do some of those and probably not record them because they're not very exciting. I'm going to unlock Matchlock Ashigaru. Actually, it won't let me. That's weird because the province I have is bordering. Oh well, we'll unlock Yarikav next. Let's try and build up a little army here before we get into the match. I like building one, and then if I have to modify it, I can. I'd like to get some veteran Katana Samurai. That's pretty hard to do because it's going to offer you like Nagi attendants and light cab and everything else in the world basically before Katana Samurai. And one of the only ways that you can overcome that is through veteran farming, which is basically asking your friend to come into a custom battle with you and you can get them there. Or you can just like sacrifice and, you know, bring a really risky army, but you're more likely to get a veteran out of it that's going to be helpful to you later. At this level, I don't really need a lot of veteran katana units, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. Let's see. I haven't upgraded that Terracist unit. That's right, I don't want to. My Waka Raider I can upgrade, and I'm going to go ahead and upgrade it because it's a very cheap unit, and upgrades will make this thing very much more effective. Already got it up to 14 attack. You can see there, which at these funds and for that price, it's going to be a good deal. My Long Yari can be upgraded. We're going to upgrade the attack on it as well. So it's going to make it a much more viable unit. Again, very good unit for the cost. These bandits are pretty crummy, but since they're so cheap, I'll throw an upgrade on them yeah, I'll increase their accuracy first because their accuracy is pretty poor. That's probably all I need to do in here for now. Let's go ahead and select a little bit of an army. Again, I'm using the retainer for these Naginata attendants. So I'm going to use attendants quite a bit just because they're cheap, they make good support units, and they're going to have pretty decent stats. I'm going to bring a couple of Katana Samurai, and I'm going to bring my Long Yari Ashigaru. Be a good support unit. I'm actually going to switch back. You know what? I'm going to go with my 2 light cab approach again because that worked out pretty good, having one hidden and bringing it out at the right moment. I don't have any bows really at this point, and I kind of need something in the missile department because this army's not probably good enough to rush with. Plus, I don't want to end up in a situation where I have to rush. I could bring 1 unit of Bow Ashigaru, and I could drop 1 sword attendant and bring... Well, hang on, let's see what we got here. I'd probably just be better off with 1 Bow Samurai, to be honest, instead of Bow Ashigaru. Those guys are pretty bad. Could be wrong, but this is the army we're going to go with from now. So let's go find our match. Alright, we got another interesting matchup here. I'm up against a 9-star. Last time I told you that I wouldn't be recording while I was on there, and I probably shouldn't have been. And I'm accordingly not going to record while I'm playing this time. I've got a little bit better infantry this time, 2 Katana Samurai, 1 Long Yari Ashigaru, 2 Sword Attendants, 3 Nagi Attendants. Bow Samurai is my only missile unit, so hopefully my opponent doesn't outclass me too badly. It's likely, though, that I'll have a lot more units than him. However, whenever I come to low-end battles and I'm playing... with Patchy, my regular avatar who's all the way ranked up, I usually tank up on attendance in order to get more guys, and if my opponent does that, then I'll be in pretty bad shape. So we'll see, but again, sometimes people have steeper units like Bulletproof Samurai and stuff that are really hard to kill with matchlocks or with anything else, and they can be pretty deadly, so it's something to be aware of as well. I'm actually thinking about... I think it cost $850 for a Portuguese Terço, so I don't think I can ditch a Katana Samurai and bring one of them instead. It's very tempting to do so, but I'm not going to, just because it would have given me a little more. I'm just going to go ahead and risk it and go with this. My opponent's probably readjusting his army. Most people at that level aren't used to playing these lower funds battles, so they have to pick a new army. Anyway, I will see you on the battle map. Again, I'm not going to record anything there voice-wise. I'll record the battle. I may record over it, but, you know, like I said, I just want to be able to not do what I did in the last battle and crap up my micromanagement by trying to talk and do things at the same time. Good evening, YouTube. So I am actually recording this a day or 2 after I played this battle, so I'm going to go ahead and explain a few things you may have noticed in the tips portion of this video. that I've captured a few provinces. I played a couple more battles and I recorded them, and I'll show them if you want. But the reason I didn't show them is because they ended up being against lower ranked players, so it was kind of me as a 0 or 1 star versus another, you know, 1 or 2 star. Not exactly the type of tips that you were looking for. Let me know if you want to see it though, and I'll show it. But really I'm trying to focus this on me trying to overcome lower ranked players. So I have no way to prove it, but I figure you all can take my word on it. I've only played 4 battles, or this is the 4th battle for this avatar. The previous 3 I have won, as you can see that I unlocked those provinces. So far, kind of even inexplicably to myself, I've managed to win the 1 battle against the 9 stars so far, and I won the other battles. One of the lower ranked players I played against has played the game before. I could tell by looking at his player profile that he had played the game before, but I was still able to defeat him. Anyway, like I said, let me know if you want to see those matches. I'll show it to you. Now, in the battle screen on this one, you notice that I did not bring a Portuguese Terços, but actually at the last second when I stopped recording, I did actually swap out that sword unit for the Portuguese Terços, and I did that because I was worried that my opponent would bring a heavy gunner, or a mounted gunner, and mounted gunners can be countered with bow units alone, but they're more easily countered with bow cav or with your own matchlock units. So I did decide to bring the Portuguese Terços, and sure enough, if you look there on the left of the screen, my opponent is wheeling up a mounted gunner. So the fact that I brought those Portuguese Terços is going to serve an excellent example here. A lot of you asked me for tips on taking out Dunderbuss and mounted gunners, so let's see if I'm successful in doing so. I may or may not be. I'm not going to give away what happens in this battle. Obviously, I'm at quite a disadvantage here as far as what my general is capable of and what my troops are capable of. The army my opponent brought, I'm not real impressed with, to be honest. He's brought a very expensive unit of 9 chevron mounted gunners that have some pretty sweet upgrades. He's brought his general, which is kind of a leadership melee mix, so it's legendary leader and the swordsman. Okay, so let me explain what I'm doing here. I think that, hey, these mounted gunners are weak. They usually don't fire very well. I'm just going to charge them because my light cav is fast. Maybe I can get to them. My guys do not get to him, and the mounted gunners are able to rout my guys. So underestimated the mounted gunner there. So there's Heir's tip number 1. Do not directly charge mounted gunner with light cav. Had that been a Yari cav unit, I actually would have gotten away with that. So if you're playing a low funds battle and you got a Yari cav you don't mind sacrificing, and the opponent just has his mounted gunners, I'm pretty sure that would work. So I only have 1 cavalry unit left, which is my other light cav. I'm hiding my Nagi attendant behind this building to make it difficult for those mounted gunners to hit them, because they could rout them in just a couple of volleys. And I don't want to lose that Nagi attendant because it's the only thing helping me lock down that dojo. So you're going to see me employ a tactic versus that mounted gunner, and we'll find out whether or not it was successful. The tactic that I'm going to employ is trying to get him to shoot at a cheap unit that I don't care about, which in this case is the Nagi attendant, and then I'm going to try and charge him down with my light cav once he's wasted his volley. So let's talk through the pros and cons of a mounted gunner while all this is going on. I'll let you watch the screen to see whether or not my tactics are successful. So pros and cons of having a mounted gunner. Pro: if your opponent isn't able to stop you, isn't cunning enough, isn't skilled enough, whatever the reason is, if your opponent isn't able to stop you from harassing with your mounted gunners, whether it's because they don't have the right units or they mismanage their units, the mounted gunner can rack up anywhere from 800 to 1,000 kills, I believe, with its ammunition before it runs out of ammunition. Why do they have so much ammunition? I have no idea. I don't know how you would carry that much ammunition on horseback. I don't have any idea how you would be reloading a matchlock rifle on horseback, or a matchlock musket, I should say. They weren't rifles. And then, on top of all that, firing what's basically a big giant hand cannon, which was kind of what a matchlock musket was, from horseback, and somehow not falling off the horse. And on top of all that, being able to hit something with it, since the thing wasn't rifled, again, not rifled, fired from an unstable platform, and from an unstable position, your chances of actually hitting something other than the guy right next to you are pretty low. But let's throw aside all reality So as you can see, from a historic standpoint, I hate the mounted gunners. Now, do I think they ruin gameplay? To an extent, yes, but entirely, no. So am I going to get onto players for using them? No, you're free to use them. I mean, it's one of the units in the game. Do I wish they weren't there? Yes, I kind of wish they weren't there. Just because I think they're completely impractical and infeasible from a historical standpoint. So not necessarily because I think they wreck gameplay. What do they do to gameplay? Well, in my opinion, I think that they create players who tend to want to be a nuisance because they're entertained by the fact that this unit can do that kind of damage. So, does it ruin gameplay? No, but does it drive a whole bunch of people to play kind of annoying tactics? Yes. Now, when someone rips me up with bow cav through skirmishing, trust me, it's annoying. It gets on my nerves, but it's a totally feasible tactic, and it worked in real life. And I'm not saying that maybe people didn't do that with gun cav too, but I'm just saying, again, the infeasibility of it mixed with the nuisance is a little bit too much for me to handle. But again, you're not going to see me freaking out over people who bring this stuff. Obviously, you've seen me defeat mounted gunners in the past. It can be done. Same thing, Dunderbuss cav is actually even easier to stop than mounted gunners because their range is pretty poor. Now, are they devastating if they get used? Yes, they are devastating. But again, it's just a matter of bringing the right units. And usually the balanced army will win out over the gimmick army. And mounted gunners are no doubt usually part of a gimmick army. Now, some people use them as a legitimate support unit, and, obviously, again, I have no problem with that. Over here, you see me putting a little bit of pressure on my opponent's main army, and this is so I can try and make something happen here. I don't like being in just this kind of boring standstill with his mounted gunners. He's firing some shots at my Nagi attendants here, and so I'm going to charge up my light cav. I want to put some pressure on him. I don't want him to sit here and be able to take cheap shots without being worried that I'm going to get him back. So really, the key to defeating mounted gunners is you got to stop and think a little and be patient. So I've got some units here that are going to be excellent units for helping me get rid of mounted gunners. I have some bows, I have some light cav, and I have some matchlocks. All of those units, and especially combinations of those units, are going to be what gets rid of mounted gunners. So one of the drawbacks of the mounted gunners is their cost, and another drawback is their range. Even if they were to get their range increased, it'd only be 125 range. Bows have 150, even the cheapest bows. Bow monks have 200 range. So you can outrange them easily, and their cav is easily killed by those kinds of things. So right there, I decided to stop chasing his unit of mounted gunners with my light cav because I know that he has a unit of matchlock Ashigaru. I am going to keep harassing his guys with bows. I managed to get a couple of kills on his cav with my bows. And so what I'm going to do is try and make my opponent sloppy and impatient. So I'm going to stand my ground here. This is one of those instances where I'm not trying to make myself look like a noob, even though some of my mistakes were noobish, like charging the light cav straight into that thing. So I don't know, maybe I am making myself look like a noob. But what I'm trying to do is force my opponent into a mistake. Now, you can sometimes probably get these mounted gunners if you kind of act like you don't know what you're doing and try and lure them into a bad position. Like, for instance, if you hide a unit of matchlocks in some woods and you're able to lure the mounted gunners past their arc of fire, that's one easy way to take them out. But my suggestion is either bows or, more ideally, bow cav. Because bow cav can get in and fire and out really quick, and then combine bow cav with light cav, and mounted gunners are going to have some problems. Or Yari cav for that matter. Light cav and Yari cav are both faster than mounted gunners. Here I try and get some shots off of my Tersos. I don't get those shots off, and you're going to see me walk a little too close. I walk kind of up and over a hill, and his matchlock Ashigaru start taking shots at my Tersos, so I'm going to pull back. So that was a mistake for me. But my bows did manage to land a few more killing shots onto his mounted gunners. So I have whittled them down by a few, nothing substantial yet. But my opponent's getting a little bit riskier in the way he uses them, and I'm putting a little pressure on him by having my bows shoot at some of his troops. I'm trying to make him come up with those mounted gunners and do something. Now the damage that my bow samurai is going to do here is going to be minimal, because his troops are standing near woods, and even though they're not in the woods, my bows are shooting out of the woods, so some of my shots are getting disrupted, and it's really not going to be super effective. But again, just trying to force something out of my opponent, and sure enough, you can see him activating his mounted gunners and coming towards my army. I have no idea what he's trying to shoot at, He could be going for my melee infantry. That would be a good decision, and he could be going for my cav. But you can see him there running in, and he's getting dangerously close to my army and to my matchlocks. Now, my matchlocks don't have line of sight at the moment, but his path is bringing him dangerously close. He kind of crests up over that hill, and sure enough, he shoots my katana samurai, which causes about 20 or 30. But you can see that he pays the price here. My light cav gets him, and then sure enough, he walks into the arc of fire of my tersos, and they open fire. So there you go. That's how you take care of mounted gunners. Bide your time, wait for your opponent to make a mistake, let your own matchlocks and bows do the work. If you have bows, you can keep mounted gunners out at a distance. However, the one thing you're going to have a trouble with is mounted gunners are mounted, thus they are quick. And here my opponent just kind of gives up and leaves his mounted gunners in range of my tersos. No idea what he was thinking there. That was foolish indeed. He should have made off with what he had left and counted himself lucky. My tersos just slaughtered what was left of his mounted gunner. So now that unit's gone, my opponent wasted almost like 1,000 koku, or more than 1,000 koku on that mounted gunner. So now his general cost probably like 1,000 some odd koku. He just lost 1,000 koku mounted gunner, and that means that what he has remaining in his army is only equivalent to somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 koku would be my best guess, versus my 5,000 koku worth of units here. Well, I say that I lost one light cav, so 4,600 koku. So I've got like 1,000 some odd koku advantage at this point, money wise. So I'm going to get in a little bit of a standoff fight with his matchlock Ashigaru. I feel pretty confident that my tersos can just take these guys down. He does an interesting move though here. He knows he has more guys, and so he goes into loose formation, which means that his front line is still going to be firing almost as many matchlocks as me. They fire a little slower, but he's got a lot more guys, and so I decide that it's going to be okay for me to sit here, and then all of a sudden I realize my tersos are taking a lot more losses than I'd like. So I start running away, and I'm going to take even more losses. I am going to use my bows though to shoot at his matchlocks and try and whittle them down. So Heir makes the mistake there. But to be quite honest, this battle's looking pretty good for me. He lost his mounted gunners. All he's got is a lone sword Ashigaru and 3 Yari Ashigaru. I'm pretty sure I can already take him, but because once again his general has the possibility of stand and fight, plus his general is a pretty tough character. He may not be a melee gen, but he does have some pretty good stats. So I'm not going to rush into this. You know what? I won the supremacy. His only missile unit were 2 matchlock units. I've got the range advantage, I've got the missile advantage, and I'm going to punish him for giving me that advantage. So I'm going to sit back here and make this guy wish that he hadn't wasted his money on the mounted gunners. Now I'm not saying that to try and be stuck up or mean, I'm just being honest. That's what I'm going to do. That's my strategy here. So, if you get someone in a position like this, they may think you're a jerk for doing this, but, I mean, by all means, if you're trying to win the battle, this is the smartest way to win the battle. Take advantage of that skirmish advantage and punish people from range. And again, I'm not trying to encourage jerky gameplay. I mean, this is just, it is what it is. If my opponent were doing this to me, I would expect him to do this to me, and this would cause me to rush him because I'm not going to just sit here and take these kind of losses. Once again here, I think my tersos can stand their ground against these matchlock Ashigaru, and once again, you're going to see me be unpleasantly surprised by the strength of matchlock Ashigaru, so I'm going to be happy to unlock these guys and use them for my own. So they have extremely slow refire, and they're not super accurate, but you can just see that their numbers there are kind of overwhelming my tersos, who just took a pretty savage volley. And even those guys had been shot up and shot with my bows, they're still doing pretty good. And I sat here and realized, why am I allowing his matchlock Ashigaru to do anything? I'm just going to chase these guys down. So I run my light cav in, and then I'm going to send these guys to the Netherlands. So get rid of them. Oh, not the Netherlands, like the country. I kind of meant like, Never Neverland, I guess is what I should have said. And no, I don't mean that in the Peter Pan way. So maybe I just should have said send them to Hades. How about that? My bad. Yep, so we got rid of the matchlock Ashigaru, so now I have an even more of a skirmishing advantage. My opponent runs his general up here for some reason, and again, not trying to be mean, but I'm sorry, this is just downright foolhardy. I don't have many tersos left, but basically every time they take a shot, they're going to hit someone. Yeah, I'll hit a few of my own guys too. Yes, they don't actually shoot your own guys on purpose, but I am going to hit some of my own guys. And here I rush him with infantry as well. And you can see that, yes, his general's unit is fairly strong, but it's not even able to, take out a light cav there. Now, if it had been a melee general, it most definitely would have. But in any case, that's not trying to be mean. I'm just commentating here, so not trying to get cocky. Obviously, you all know that I don't think I'm the best player, and don't think that whenever I say these things, but I mean, that was a foolish mistake. And again, if my opponent even ends up watching this video, I have nothing against you. I'm just saying that was not a smart move, and I'm trying to give advice, and so I have to be honest, that was not a smart move. Now, it could be that he feels like this battle's already lost, and that's why he did that. I just don't know. So at this point, I'm going to start a surrounding maneuver on my opponent. I'm going to pin him in. He's staying really close to that morale shrine. I have the attack, or the sword dojo, though, so I'm feeling pretty confident, again, about my chances, but I have a missile advantage, so again, I'm going to sit back and take advantage of that. And then I remember even my general has arrows. And I don't know, I haven't used a bow general since they've run several patches through, so I have no idea if they're any good. Back in the day, even when they get really good stats, they didn't really honestly get a whole lot of great kills. But I'm going to go put my general to the test here and see if my opponent's just going to sit there and let me attack him. At this point, you would have thought he would have charged me by now, but like I said, since he's not, I'm more than happy to just sit here and cause damage. My general is now wheeled up on his flank, and I got some nice flank shots into those Ashigaru who are standing right outside the woods. If he really did just want to sit here and take this punishment, he definitely should have moved all of his troops into the woods and then put them in loose formation. That would have actually been a semi-feasible means of defense. And then with his general who's capable of stand and fight, he could have put his guys into a defensive formation, and that probably would have been his best chance. His biggest problem is that my tersos aren't going to run out of bullets anytime soon. And even though there's not many of them, they can just sit there and fire and fire and fire. Not sure how well you can see it. I'm sure you can see it fairly well, but my general is going to start getting some pretty substantial kills here with his bow. Again, just taking my time, going to pick him apart, eat him up, and then I'm actually taking the morale shrine away with what's left of my light cav, and he's not making any moves to stop me. It's because he doesn't want to pull his troops out of the wood. So I'm about to take away his morale advantage. I have the attack advantage, plus I'm peppering him with missiles from my general and my tersos, and he's just sitting there taking it at the moment. Definitely should have charged me earlier on in this match. So yeah, at this point, advice I would give you about like I said, I gave you some advice about mounted gunners. Hopefully that's helpful. When you expect your opponent's going to bring mounted gunners, it's good to have one of several units or a combination of several units. Yari cav, light cav, bow cav, bows, and I'm thinking more like 200 range bows. Or your own matchlocks, and usually a combination of a couple of those units is good, like for instance a bow cav combined with your own matchlocks. That's a pretty good way to take out mounted gunners, and there we have a rage quit. Alright, well that was an interesting battle. Obviously my opponent there was depending on the, you all like to call it troll cav, and I've called it troll cav. He was definitely depending on those mounted gunners to win him the game. And they very well could have. You saw that in the beginning I definitely went out and just fed him a free unit of kills by running that light cav. I thought they wouldn't take that much damage, but then I just sometimes forget that the matchlocks just, they really blast your guys pretty bad. So I should have toyed around with him on that, the mounted gunners, and I could have done a little better from the get-go, but you saw there that he ended up spending a lot of money bringing those mounted gunners to the battle. They were very upgraded, and obviously he's used those units a lot, and was hoping to use them again in this battle. But really my opponent's main mistake was his choice of cavalry, and just bringing a mounted gunner unit was a very bad idea. And then his choice of missile units and just bringing a matchlock Ashigaru was also a very bad idea. And you saw that I made multiple mistakes in that battle, and even with my multiple mistakes, I was able to finish him off just because he did not have the right units to defeat me. So what he was counting on there was that I was a new player, not going to bring the right units, and he was given a surprise. So bringing the right units, even as a new player, can throw off those veteran players who think they know how to play the game, and you can definitely catch them off balance. Again, here it gives me a light cav vet that I just really don't need or want. I'm going to have to try and get some katana vets. Let's take a look at the unit statistics. My Portuguese Terços did get torn up pretty bad, but they also got the most kills in this fight. And then next to them was Patchy, which you saw there at the end. He just let Patchy walk up with impunity. And usually a general with the bow doesn't do all that much because the fight will get underway so quick. But when you have an opponent who's insistent on camping and they have no way to answer your bow cav like my opponent did there, a bow general will rip you to shreds. And a really upgraded bow general can rip you up anyway. You can see my bow samurai there. Yeah, they did alright. Obviously, he was hiding in the woods, so they got a few kills. This unit of light cavalry here did very well, mopping up those, the enemy general, and this is the one that got all shot to pieces there. Obviously, that unit was wasted. So there's another good example of how being a veteran player doesn't mean that you're going to win the fight. My opponent there chose his army poorly and paid the price. And I'm not saying that to try and be mean. I'm not a great player. You'll have seen me making mistakes in here. Not trying to be like conceited or anything. I honestly didn't expect to go 4-0 in the start of this, and I do expect to start losing some battles as I come up against players who are a little smarter about the armies they pick. But to be honest, if you're cunning in the way you pick your army at low funds, you can be very deadly to players who have a whole lot of quote-unquote advantages over you. So HeirofCarthage signing off for now. Hope you're enjoying this series. And I'll bring you more of it in the near future. What I'm going to do is I've given you 4 battles of my own, and coming up next, I'm going to start looking at your replays, and next week I will show you some low funds battle replays, and we'll commentate on what went right or what went wrong, and then I'll continue to kind of show you as I build up this avatar. I figured this would be a fun way to talk about strategy, is to have me kind of just rebuild the avatar, and I'll help new players to get better at the game, and it should be entertaining for those of you who watch me for a long time to see me have to play from a bit of a disadvantage. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.